Profound awakening experiences. These are the ones that have the potential to have your life do a complete 360. It might turn your world upside down, but for the better. These are the experiences that tell you that what you thought you knew about life is not what it actually is at all. These are the changes to your life and your thinking that only a direct, profound experience, an awakening experience, can give you. I would have to say that my most profound awakening experience was the sudden and spontaneous full-on Kundalini awakening that I had a few years ago. However, before that, my most profound awakening experience, the one that actually changed my life course, happened during an NDE, which stands for a near-death experience, of which I had like over 30 years ago. First, are all awakening experiences spiritual in nature? No. Some act as small or profound eye-openers that are not necessarily spiritual as most would perceive the term spiritual to be. So I want to interrupt what I'm talking about here to introduce you to my rescue pigeon. This is India. I wanted to introduce you to him because, whoops, you want to go out and play, don't you? You're going to be hearing this cooing sound in the background of my videos. And so I just wanted to let you know what that is, that he would like to apparently get your attention with his cooing. But every time I start talking, he starts cooing. Okay, back to profound awakening experiences. I've had 3 powerful awakening experiences thus far. 2 were very spiritual in nature, and 1 was not so spiritual, although the sheer profoundness of it could have been considered as a miracle, for it wildly included or involved non-human beings in a starship and me being healed. Not so much a spiritual experience, but an eye-opening experience for sure. The NDE awakening experience, which I had, which was the near-death experience, was actually what you would call an oxymoronic experience, in that I passed away. I died for about 5 minutes, no life functions, and ended up awakening in the same death experience, awakening to the truths of creation, the universe, and source. Over 30 years ago, finding myself in a hospital in the OR and in and out of consciousness, and at that point not under anesthesia yet or at the time, something suddenly terribly went wrong. My heart stopped. And when it stopped, I felt myself, my consciousness, my spirit leaving my body. I felt myself, albeit my omnipresent consciousness, floating above my hospital bed, leaving my body, and my essence looking down at my body below. I suddenly had all-seeing eyes. I could see in all directions at once, like a 360 degree. And I was looking down. I could see things on the shelves above the hospital area. I mean, I could see people coming and going. I could see people rushing towards me from above. I was still conscious of this, yet not in my body. I could see a nurse working over me closely with urgency and determination. Like this nurse was relentless, working over me. I could see her from above. No. I felt myself floating farther from that moment of chaos below, as though disengaging from the 3rd dimension of existence, with no emotion except for peace and joy. I now seemed newly awakened in an infinite, soft white space of light that seemed to stretch forever, infinitely. I felt such a deep, profound, and unending sense of peace in that space, that infinite space. I cannot even truly describe it or express it into words. Human emotions were absent. However, I was experiencing pure love, peace, and joy as though they were my true essence, my true nature. Okay, so some background. Before this NDE experience, I was raised as a strict Roman Catholic. I attended Catholic schools and Bible study programs for over 8 years. And you should know that with my Catholic upbringing, I was taught very vaguely what happens when you die or pass. It was either heaven or hell or limbo if you were not baptized. The teachings also denied the existence of reincarnation. One could not even question or ask about it. While I was in this white, unlimited space, I became increasingly all-knowing. That is, the understanding, the knowing that my consciousness was one with all that is, and a part of all that is, and a part of Source. I suddenly was immersed in the knowledge, understanding, and knowing that I was truly not the body. I was consciousness and spirit and soul. This was my true nature. I was completely aware of myself. I suddenly knew that the earth body I was in was merely a shell, wired with emotions and ego, and born on this earth plane with a loss of memory to the knowing of what and who I truly was and had been in so many other body vessels and forms before this life on earth. I somehow knew that my spirit, my consciousness had many times over been placed in a third dimensional body many, many, many times before. Whether it was on this earth plane or another planet or in another galaxy or in a higher dimension for soul rest. But then, in this brief moment where time did not really exist, I suddenly felt my essence being pulled back down towards my body laying below. I saw that the nurse leaning over my body was now pounding her fist violently and relentlessly into my chest over and over again. So I resisted this sudden awareness of a downward pull back to my body and became aware of my thoughts expressing these words, "No, I want to stay." But then I heard a strong voice, a voice that made me think, oh my gosh, this must be the voice of God, of Source. And he said gently, "It's not your time yet." And I felt myself immediately being sucked back down into my earthly vessel, my body. And as I entered back into my body, I felt the sudden jolting pain and discomfort of my body and the nurse's fists pounding into my chest. I remember opening my eyes and whimpering out "Stop, stop, I'm okay, stop." And the nurse jumped back in complete shock. Later, upon reflection of this experience, my biggest shock was not that my heart had stopped beating for 5 minutes. It was not that I had passed away and come back. It was the stark realization that everything I had been taught about the afterlife, including the forbidden word of reincarnation, was not the real reality. My beliefs had been shaken apart and turned upside down. Thus, this was a huge awakening experience for me, a real eye-opener that led me down a new path of understanding and awareness. It was a spiritual awakening, yes, but also an awakening that changed my thinking enough to lead me down an entirely new path, a new path of actively seeking self-realization that I still to this day walk. Awakenings aren't just one experience or 2 or 3. They are a transmutational journey where each experience can act as a launching pad or a springboard, and of which the after effects stay with you and help you to stay your course. There are small, gentle awakening experiences, the in-between, all the way to the profound awakening experience. They're all good. And my tip, trust Source to arrange the awakening experiences that are right for you at any given time. Thank you for joining me, and I will see you again soon.